sudden, right? It's in a situation where you want to know, where was I immediately before you saw me? Right? So it has that relationship to the present. It's not an isolated incident in the past. It's like, when I say where have you been, I want to know up until like this time. Not where were you yesterday or some other time, but where have you been, like the last 2 hours maybe. Do you see what I mean?
Yeah.
So you might ask your teenage daughter something if she comes home at 1 a.m. Where have you been? Or I don't know.
Dancing.
I would say your dog if you got lost, but it might be silly to ask your dog a question like that. But you might anyway. Some people talk to their dogs. Your dog got lost for 3 days. Finally, he comes home. Where have you been? I don't know. That's weird.
Sometimes people keep the
people
dogs
talk
just to talk to them.
Exactly. Exactly. Okay. So we want to use past simple if we're asking where you were, and past progressive if we're asking what were you doing. Or we can say, were you jogging? Were you drinking coffee? Right? Okay. So, who wants to accuse someone? Does anyone know?
I think you.
Who is you? This?
No, the boy.
Max. And why do you think he's guilty?
Because in the morning he had a cat.
In the morning he was with his pet cat?
Yes, and in the evening he was near the museum.
In the evening he was near the museum. All right, Max, you're accused. Can you tell us, do you have any defense? Can you tell us why it was not you? What's your defense?
I didn't drink coffee.
You didn't
I
drink coffee.
don't drink coffee.
You don't drink coffee
I don't
at
drink
all?
coffee.
Well, it seems like a pretty good defense, but unless we find someone who's more guilty, we might put you in jail. Who else might be guilty? This one, and what's your name?
My name Clement Cablerone.
Clemente Cablerone.
Maybe.
It's from the mafia.
But Clement, I guess.
Yeah, it's true. It's a nice name. But maybe his mother was just being hopeful when she gave him this name.
Yeah.
Maybe. And does anyone else think this person is guilty?
I see.
You also think?
I think maybe this person is a criminal.
Why?
I don't like.
She looks like.
Because you don't like her name. That's not good evidence. We need some evidence in the court.
And he or she.
Well, I don't know. This person.
Maybe he. Because this person's mother has a cat.
Two cats.
Two cats. And this person very like coffee. And was drinking coffee at the same time. Between 8 and 10 p.m.
Was drinking coffee. And was this person anywhere near the art museum?
Yes, of course.
Really? What about at 10 p.m.? What was this person doing?
And cat prevented her for drinking.
So I have a cat in one arm and the coffee in the other. What were you doing at 10 p.m., Clemente?
10 p.m. I was getting in a taxi, and
where were you getting this taxi?
Outside the art museum.
Okay, how many people think this person is guilty?
Almost all.
The jury? What does the jury say? Guilty or not guilty?
Indicted.
What about 10 p.m.?
10 p.m.
Yeah, she was getting a taxi.
Taxi at about 8 p.m.
8 p.m. Buy coffee.
Where?
Where? In cafe.
In the cafe.
I remember
It's Dunkin' Donuts, so it's very
Dunkin'
popular.
Donuts.
Dunkin' Donuts. So donut is,
it's near the
I
museum.
don't know, what is donut in Ukrainian?
Yeah, пирожок, пончик.
Yeah, you like dip it in the coffee.
I bought the
Bagel.
coffee.
It's not a bagel. A donut is sweet.
Yeah.
They could have the same shape, but a bagel is not sweet. It's like bread and donut is sweet. Wow, I think we found our criminal, so we can put you in jail. That was very good, everyone. Thank you. So now we'll move on to something more serious. But I hope that made you relax.
Nice. Yes,
have
it was
fun
nice.
after you were at work.
Yes, we had.
Yes, you had fun? Okay, but now it's time for the serious part. Oh. That's not what I meant to do. Okay. All right, so we're going to talk about requests. So we were just asking questions. And a request might look like a question too, right? It takes the form of a question. It has a question mark at the end. You're asking somebody. But it's a little different purpose, right? For a question, we want to get some information, right? And for a request, we would like to get someone to do something for us, to maybe help us in some way. Okay? So I have some ideas about ways we can make requests. A lot of them use would and could. Actually, all of them use would or could. Okay, and maybe some of you have heard about modal verbs. It doesn't matter if you haven't, but if you have, maybe this will help you remember that these are modal verbs.
Mhm.
So that means they don't change, right? So you don't have to remember to put the S or anything like that.
So what should you do?
Hold on. So I might say, would you mind, plus an ing word. Would you mind helping me? Would you mind reading this passage for our class? Would you be able to? Right? The more I add to it, kind of, the more formal and the more polite it gets. Right? And why might I change the way I make a request? So these are more formal ones, right? Like I said, if I was talking to Jesse, I might say, can you? Right? Because it's okay to be a little bit less polite with him. Because I'm close to him, not because I don't, have no respect or something. And because I'm close, right? So if it's your sister, your brother, you would say it a little differently. Right? To my sister, I might say, can I have that pen? Or maybe I would just say, give me your pen. Right?
Or just take the pen.
Or just take the pen, right? If it's my sister, she knows we've been around each other enough. I don't want to be so polite. But if it's my boss, or someone who I hope will be my boss, or my professor, I might want to be a little more polite. I hope that you would want to be a little more polite. Okay? And so also, could you, and maybe we could add also another word to make it even more polite. Could you possibly? Right? There are other options, but these are just some examples. So can we get some volunteers to try out each one of these? Who wants to try number 1?
Would you marry me?
I would if I wasn't already there.
If I could, I would.
When we are saying will you, and when we are saying would you.
So will is maybe is not quite as polite. Right? So in this lesson, I'm focusing mostly on emails, and emails we might send in professional situations. That's why I'm giving the most polite one. You could say, will you? Right? It's not rude, but it's not as polite as these. So sometimes if we want to be more polite, right? Someone has a higher position than us, or is older, then we should use the form that does not sound so certain,
Yes.
right? It doesn't sound so 100% sure.
Would admit the hesitation, the
Yeah,
option.
like little hesitation, like it's optional, you don't have to, right? If I say will, it sounds a little more direct, right? So do you guys know what I mean when I say direct and indirect? Yeah? Indirect I might say, so for example, indirect I might say, oh, it's so cold in here. And then I hope that someone will shut the window. Not really, I'm glad the window's open. But directly I would say, Max, shut the window. Right? That's not very nice. If I wanted to be polite, would you mind shutting the window, Max?
So when somebody proposed to marry somebody,
I think they
It's
usually
very
say,
polite.
will you marry?
No, usual question, will you marry me?
Yeah, but this is a little different. They want a promise.
And standing on one
They want a
knee.
promise in return. Because they don't want it to be theoretical. If you say, would you? And I say, I would. That's still just a theory, right? It's still just an idea. I don't want you to say I would. I want you to say I will. Right? I want 100% certainty. Okay. How about number 2? Who can try number 2?
Would you mind going with me? Would you mind going shopping with me on
Would
Friday?
you mind going shopping with me on Friday? Sure. Oh, what about number 3?
would you be able to help me?
Sure. Yeah. Number 4?
Could you
How
please
about one of
shut
these
the
ladies in the
door?
front? One of these ladies in the front. I want you to try. Number 4.
Could you let me a hand?
Could you open the door?
Could you open the door? Great.